Scott, thank you for joining me from your office at the training ground. For you, how have the past few weeks been?
Past few weeks have been they've been different, certainly different, and a little bit difficult. A little bit difficult because obviously we've never been in this situation before, so we've not been able to look back and see what we've done previously and kind of mirror that. So yeah, it's been different. It's been difficult, but it's been the same for everyone. It's not just for me; it's for everyone. All the medical staff, the coaching staff, the players, and for every club in the Premier League. So we're not alone.
Just before we get on to basically what the players are doing now, I just wanted to talk a little bit about you, because we've been putting out loads of classic games over the past few weeks, and you seem to be on the bench for quite a lot of them. How long have you been here now?
I've been here nearly 10 years.
Wow.
10 seasons. I think it was October 2012, possibly. I know George Burley was in charge when I joined.
2010. So
yeah.
2010.
Yeah. Okay. So George Burley was in charge, and I joined around about October time. I think he got sacked on that New Year's Day, and then Dougie came in, and yes, that was when I was first. That was my sort of first 2 or 3 months. George Burley, and then George Burley gets sacked on New Year's Day after being beat, I think 3-0 at Millwall. Jason Puncheon scoring 2 goals, I believe.
Yeah, it was. Was it a hat trick or was it 2? I can't remember.
I can't remember. I kind of switched off after 2-0.
So how did you know that you wanted to be a fitness coach? At what point in your playing career?
I didn't really. I started my coaching qualifications while I was still playing, and then it was when I was at Yeovil. I don't know if you've ever been to Yeovil, Chris, but there's not much going on down there.
I've been to a night out there once in, is it Chicago Rocks or something like that?
That's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And there's not much going on down there, so I decided to kind of do some study, and I ended up doing a sports science degree. I was coming to the end of my career. It was something that I kind of took an interest in sort of later on in my career, a little bit through frustration that I hadn't played higher, and I think probably one of the reasons I didn't play higher was because I probably didn't have the support and knowledge when I was playing. I played sort of lower league clubs, and we didn't have sports science, and we didn't have S&C and that type of thing. So it was kind of born out of frustration, really. And the more I did the course, the more interested I became in performance, and started to incorporate a few little things into my own training regime to try and extend my career. I wanted to play till 35. I ended up playing till 34. Got released by Bournemouth under Eddie Howe. And I had the opportunity to sort of go into lower league football, non-league football, but it would have meant moving back up north. Didn't really want to. And then the opportunity come to Crystal Palace. So it was a little bit out of the blue. I'd never worked kind of, outside of being a footballer before. So it was all new to me. I didn't have a mentor. There was no one here to work alongside, to learn off. So I kind of had to teach myself, really.
It's very much one of those rules where you have to be on your toes, don't you? You're constantly learning new stuff.
Yeah, all the time. And the players as well. The players can be quite challenging. You have to adapt to obviously a different style of player now. Certainly from when I first joined the football club, the caliber of player now is a lot different, and their expectations are a lot higher. And they understand sports science a little bit better now. They've been exposed to it for a considerable time now, so they pick up things, So yeah, you have to be on your toes. You have to be ready for it. I think that background in being a footballer has helped me massively.
And you're the survivor, aren't you, of quite a few managers and regimes. It's probably, what is it? You and Ian the Masseur? Who's
Yeah, I think Ian's probably the second longest serving member of staff here. Um, yeah, I don't know why. I mean, look, I think when you look back, I think adaptability is key. Every manager works slightly differently, and they want to do things different to the previous manager. And I think some people struggle with that. They have a set way of doing things, and if they're being told that that way is not how the manager wants to do it, they struggle with that. So you have to adapt a little bit, and you have to be prepared to probably change the way you work at times. Some managers take a lot of interest in sports science and what we do, and other managers not so much. Um, so yeah, you have to adapt to that. Um, but so far, it's every manager that I've worked with has shown an interest in what we do, or has some interest in what we do. Some more than others, but they've all been very very receptive to it.
You got Roy Hodgson at the moment. How much have you had to liaise with him over the past few weeks, discussing what the players can and can't do?
Yeah, quite a lot. Quite a lot. We've had a number of Zoom calls, not just with Roy, but with all the staff, with Zaf and Ed, our head physio, my SSC coaches, with Doug, the sporting director, with Danny Young, the liaison officer. So it's been a joint operation. It requires input from everyone really, and certainly from the manager. Everything we do, we run by the manager first, and keep him in the loop, and Ray as well. So yeah, constant communication. Zoom's been a godsend. The odd text message here, so there's a lot of WhatsApp groups, floating around. So yeah, it's just a case of communicating with everyone.
From memory, the last thing I can remember at the training ground, we were preparing for the trip to your old club, Bournemouth, and then that was called off. What happened after that? There was no training after that, was there? Did the players have to collect stuff from the training ground to take home?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like ages ago now. I remember we were due to train a little bit later on the Friday because we were traveling down in the late afternoon. So the players weren't due to come in till a little bit later. And I think that evening, on the Thursday evening, I think Mikel Arteta was diagnosed with coronavirus. So there was a big panic. I think there was an emergency meeting called on the Friday, and then it was cancelled. And we were no longer allowed to come to the training ground. And at the time, no one knew how long this was going to be. So it was a little bit messy at first, because no one really knew what to do, how long we were going to be. But after the initial sort of couple of days, it settled down a little bit, and we had a little bit of a clearer picture as to what was going to go on. And then it was just a case really then of just ensuring that the players were prepared for or doing some work at their home.
And pretty much all of them have got loads of gym equipment at home anyway, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's some of the lads have got their own gyms at their home. They're fortunate enough to have their own gym facilities. Some of them live in sort of high-rise complex buildings where there's like a communal gym. But a lot of those gyms, they're okay for general fitness, but not for elite athletes. So we had to make sure we had to liaise with every player and make sure that they had all the equipment necessary. So we went about finding out what they had and what they didn't have, and then we basically had to go around and deliver equipment to them at their places.
And then, so they're doing that, they're doing the exercise to keep them ticking over. And then you hit the point where it's going to be a longer break than you originally think. And you started having sessions via Zoom in groups. How did that work?
Yeah, so, well, initially, like I say, we didn't know how long it was going to be. So I think for the first week, we kind of hit the lads quite hard because we thought, this may only be 1 or 2 weeks. Let's maintain their fitness levels so they can come straight back into training. As soon as that started to drag out and we started to realize that this is going to be a little bit long term, we then had to kind of think about, how we were going to plan sort of over a longer period of time. We were conscious of asking the players to do too much, because we felt that there was a chance that this may be their off season. So what we didn't want to do is give them loads of structured work to do, and then find out that which may still be a possibility, that the players come back, they finish the season, and then they don't actually have an off season. They go straight into the next season. So we were conscious of that. So we kind of stepped it in that we were quite general with what we gave them. First of all, it was more sort of just tick yourselves over. We had bikes delivered to all the players, exercise bikes. We sort of said that, just keep yourself ticking over on bikes, some general fitness work. And then we started to add a little bit more structure to it. So timed runs where players had to get in a certain time, those types of things. We had to find places for them to carry out that work. So we wanted to start getting them outside, because we didn't want the players spending sort of 4 weeks on an exercise bike. So we had to try and source some pitches for them. And then we obviously were conscious of making sure that they didn't lose any strength gains that they had sort of gained over the last sort of 6, 7, 8 months with being in season. We've got quite a big strength and conditioning philosophy here at the football club. We take it quite seriously. So we then made sure, once we knew that all the players had the necessary equipment, we would then get some of the S&C coaches to phone in via Zoom, and they would do their S&C sessions via Zoom.
Pretty cool. So then you're watching as Germany go back to training, and are you finding out what they're doing at this point, or is it all coming from meetings that people are having with the Premier League and finding out what the regulations are going to be?
Yeah, it's pretty much coming from the Premier League. We had to follow the protocols that were set out by the Premier League and by the government. So I think Zaf, our head of medical, is I think he's head of the Premier League Doctors Association. So he was pretty clued up with what was going on, and he made sure that he kept everyone updated. So most of the information really came from Premier League and government.
And then how long ago did you start preparing what you were going to do with the players this week?
Well, probably about 3 weeks ago. We had a loose plan of what we were going to do. And then as we got closer and closer to the date, and that date was decided, then we sort of nailed down a little bit on exactly what we wanted to do. Last week, I actually ran through the sessions with a few of the boys that were coming down and doing individual work. So the week prior to this week, some of the players were coming into the training ground to do some individual work. So I ran through the sessions with them to give me an idea of how hard the sessions were, how long they ran for, timings, rest periods, that type of thing, so that this week would run as smooth as possible.
And looking at the video that we shot on the drone, there's different line markings on the pitch. What's that all about?
Yeah, so you're only allowed 4 players to a pitch. So we had to sort of segregate or mark off the pitch into kind of 4 sections, really, where the players could work. And that was basically it. That's why we did it. So the painted lines on the pitch just represent those areas that the players will work in, nothing more than that.
And they're all carrying boxes of their own kit. They're actually having to carry their own stuff.
It's a tough world for them. They've all been given their own sort of plastic box, where I think inside they have water bottles, Vaseline for blisters and things like that, and sun cream, and their GPS units and heart rate monitors will be left over at Kent County as well, so they'll bring them over. So any equipment really will be housed in those boxes, so that they don't have to go looking for it.
How often are they going to be tested? Is it twice a week?
I think it's twice a week, yeah.
So I guess at the point that either they're playing games or training in contact, you're going to know that no one on that pitch has the virus or is infectious, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the reason for doing it, is so that obviously when you train for those 2 days post the test, that no one's infected with it. Yeah, that's all being outsourced. The testing is all being outsourced by another company. That's that's on top of that. So it only takes, surprisingly, it only takes probably 15 seconds to do a test. We actually had a test last Sunday where we had to go into County Cricket Club and get tested, and it literally is just a quick swipe of the mouth, and that's it.
And that's everyone, any staff that come into contact with players, is it?
That's right. Yeah. So I think the Premier League gave us 40 tests, and then we had to decide how many players and how many staff we wanted to have those tests.
Yeah. So you're waiting now for the Premier League to say that you can do contact training at some point, because the goalkeepers aren't even allowed to handle the ball at the moment, are they?
I think they're allowed to handle the ball. Well, they were yesterday, but I don't think they're allowed to handle the ball and then throw it to someone else. That's kind of my understanding, or pass the ball to someone else. So after so at the moment we're doing it in groups of 8, so 7 outfield, 1 goalkeeper, and at the end of every session they have to wipe down their balls and the equipment, and then they move off, and then the next group come in and they do the same. And at the end of the day, we don't have to pick up any of the equipment because it's all done by cleaners, external cleaners that come in, and they come along and they pick it up with these little sticks and put it into a plastic bag and then spray inside the plastic bag. So it's quite a full-on process, and it's been very well thought out. That's for sure.
Did you watch any of the German football the weekend?
I didn't. No, I actually missed it. A lot of people have said to me, "Have you been watching it?" But for some reason, I never got around to watching it.
It's going to be every weekend. You're not going to have anything else to do, so
that's right. Yeah.
I guess. And then finally, just when it does come to game time, you're not going to have a chance to do any traditional pre-season games to build up fitness, are you?
No, I mean that hasn't been discussed yet. I mean, it was, one of my concerns really is the players aren't going to get an opportunity to play any games before they play a Premier League game, and one of the big things in pre-season is games, and we put a lot of thought into our game sort of structure in pre-season of the quality of opposition, what time of day we have a kickoff, when we have it. Do we have it on a Friday night? Do we have it on a Saturday? Because it's really, really important that players get the necessary minutes into them before they play a competitive game. So it is a little bit of a concern. We haven't really discussed how we're going to get around that at the moment. For me, it may just be that we have to have some in-house games, against mixed groups. Maybe some of the 23s, under 23s join in, something like that. But players certainly need some exposure to 11v11 on a full-size pitch, with proper rules before they go in and play a game.
Cool. Well, I think we're up to date on that, so we'll catch up further down the line probably. Thank you very much for taking time out of your. Do you ever get a day off?
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah. I only live local, so it's pretty easy for me to come in. So.
Cool. Thank you, Scott.